Hello everybody and welcome back to another visual effects tutorial. In this particular video, we are going to show you guys how to create the portal effect that we will be making for our plate number 2 for our class. Now, to get this started, first of all, we are going to use Niagara to create our portal effect. And all we're really looking to do is to have a looping effect that establishes your portal. In this effect, I'm going to be looking at not just sort of the quality of your textures, but also the blending of the shapes. I don't want to see any seams, and I don't want to see the meshes that you are using. So that means everything has to blend together in such a way that it's not obvious where the cylinder is or where the disc is, and so obviously that depends on if you're working with a more stylized texture or with a more stylized visual effect. Then there are some exceptions that I will take in regards to the shape of your texture, but the silhouette still has to be distinct and natural and overall, blends cohesively together. So with that, let's get started on building this effect. So for this portal effect, I kind of want to do a bit of a fiery portal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just delete that, and I'm going to go into my Niagara folder and click on new folder and rename this folder to level 2 sparks. Level 2 portal, I'm sorry. And in here, I'm going to create a Niagara system with a simple sprite burst. And I'm going to rename the system NS level 2 underscore portal. There you go. So now that I have my Niagara system here, I'm going to place this onto the map and start creating my visual effect. So at the moment, it doesn't seem to be spawning anything. Which is odd. So if it's not spawning anything, that means it's not doing the correct thing. So I'm just going to once again re-add this. There you go. So now it's spawning something. And I'm going to rename this to cylinder core. Once again, we're going to be working with our core contrast rules. So I want to establish my core contrast immediately. So first I'm going to work on my cylinder. And for this one, I'm going to change out the sprite renderer that this emitter comes with by default. So I'm just going to delete this, and I'm going to create a mesh render. So I'm just going to replace it by clicking this plus icon and then clicking on mesh render over here. And what this usually does is it gives a default kind of mesh asset that it spawns in, and I'm going to just replace that with my hollow cylinder mesh. So as you can see, I already have my cylinder mesh here, and I'm just going to use the panners that we created last time. So in the last video, I showed you guys how to create a emissive panner with a panning noise, a distortion noise, and a mask to kind of mask out the different seams of the material. So I'm just going to use those same material instances for this demonstration today. So on my mesh render, I'm going to click on enable material override, and I'm going to click plus on this override materials array. So I'm just going to click plus here, expand this again, and here we now have access to our material slot, which we can plug in our emissive panner material. And so now we have our panner here. So now this was the material that we created last time. For this particular effect, I'm going to go ahead and kind of bring this down a little bit. Um, I'm going to go ahead and go to properties, click on local space just so it moves around. And I'm going to bring this down a little bit just so it comes into contact with the ground and have that depth fade kick in. Then I'm going to do a few things to make this an infinite particle. So first I'm going to go to initialize particle and set my lifetime to 0. And then on the particle state down here, I'm going to uncheck this box. And now we have an infinite particle. So this particle is not going to die. No matter how long this emitter lasts. To make it truly infinite, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this loop duration mode to once infinite. And then I'm going to set the inactive response to kill. So that way, if the emitter dies, then for some reason, if the emitter dies, then the particle is going to go with it. And you're not going to have those sort of forever particles that are immortal particles that are just hanging around your level. To control the size of my cylinder, I'm just going to go ahead and go to initialize particle again and, do some stuff. So I'm going to unset the sprite size mode because I don't need it. And I'm going to set the mesh scale mode to uniform. And now I can scale up my cylinder. So I think 2 is a good scale. Maybe like 3 would be better, just to cover more area. And so now I have this cylinder going, and I like the color of this already, but like I said, I'm going to try and do a little bit of a fire type effect. So I'm going to go ahead and choose some more fire type colors for my visual effect. Something like this, right? So something like orange to red orange. Maybe I want a little bit more power on this, right? Maybe I also want a little bit more, a little bit less height to this. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my curve all the way down, just so it's a little bit lower. And then I can try to do some other things. So now I have this layer. Now I just want to kind of build up my different layers. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this because this already has a good sort of settings. I'm going to choose this disk that's already sort of laying down. And so now that one is not showing up because it's below the ground. So there's 2 ways to fix this. You could just move the system up a little bit, just so until it's off the ground a little. But the other way to do this is to go to initialize particle, click check this position offset box, and go ahead and put an offset on the z-axis. So you could just like maybe do 10 should be enough to kind of bring it up, or just until it comes up from the ground. So sometimes that could be 5, that could be 10, that could be 15, depending on your settings or positioning. It'll be different for you. And then I could set the UV mode once again, the scale of my mesh to kind of match the size of my visual effect or of my cylinder. So I kind of want this to be a little larger, and I want to use a different material. So maybe this one. Okay, so this one covers a lot, so I'm gonna go ahead and resize this again. Something like this, or maybe like 5 will do. Yeah, I think 5 will do. And then I'm just going to, start changing the colors on this too. So I'm gonna go maybe 15 on the orange. Then I'm going to do red orange as well, like so. And if you did the previous assignment correctly, this should basically already have not a lot of seams, right? So if you've set up the material correctly and have set up your patterns, your instances correctly, this shouldn't have a lot of seams. But if you need to adjust them, like I said before, just adjust sort of the Fresnels, the gradients, and the depth fade in order to blend together your layers. As you can see on my side, on my visual effect, this is already blending quite well. And there's only a few seams that I have to adjust, like this one in the middle right here. But other than that, it's pretty much okay. But so for now I kind of want to build out my contrast layer. So I have my cores. This one is going to be my floor core. There you go. So I have my core layers. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate these two. And then I'm going to create a cylinder contrast and floor contrast. And so from here, what I can do is create more instances. So for this one, for example, I'm going to panner 03, and then for this one, I'm going to do panner 04. And I'm going to extend my, I'm going to plug these in first and foremost, I think. My panner 03 is going to go into into my contrast layer, and my panner 04 is going to go into the floor contrast. And so now what we're going to do is, I'm going to close up some of these. I'm going to save just because we need to save. And so now we are going to go into our material instances again. And panner 3, remember, is the cylinder one, is the cylinder contrast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm going to extend it a little bit upwards. And I'm going to feather it a little bit more. Like so. And then I'm going to choose a more subdued color for this effect. So maybe I want it to be a little bit more pinkish, but also like a lot more subdued. And then maybe I want this to be a lot more volumetric. So I think I want to change my main texture. There you go, to something that's more cloudy. And then I could basically have this. Maybe I could even do like a softer, like red color. Or just like a darker theme. Right? So, I mean, that's looking pretty okay. I think I like that. I'm going to go ahead and maybe add or maybe lessen the... There, maybe add a little bit more tiling. Or maybe lessen the tiling a little bit on my texture main. Just so it has a little bit more volumetric shape to it, right? It's giving a lot more contrast to my visual effect. The other thing I could do here is I'm going to go back to my parent material, and I'm going to just add a particle color to this material. And I'm going to do this because I want to be able to control the opacity of my visual effect in Niagara, so that I can control sort of the thickness of the quality of the material. So I'm just going to go ahead and multiply the alpha to the main sort of mask, plug this into the main alpha line like so. I'm going to just hit apply. And then for a lot of this, I'm going to take out the scale color. But for my contrast, I'm going to bump up the alpha on my cylinder. And as you can see, what that does is that it gives it a lot more depth and opacity. And it's giving a lot more contrast to my effect. So with that, I think this is pretty good. I'm just going to give this a little bit more of a darker hue, I think, because I kind of like the more sort of hellfire type effect that I have. Right. right? So I think that's pretty good. I think that's looking pretty nice. I could also like use a different texture mask for this one. So maybe I want something that's maybe like a little cloudy. And then for the distortion, I'm going to just use a more basic sort of refract, or you know what, I can stick with a cloud noise for this one. I'm just gonna give my distortion maybe a little bit more detail, like so. And so there's a lot more subtle movement in there that you can kind of see. There you go. So I think that that's working really marvelously. I kind of like how that looks. If I want, I could go into my core layer and maybe extend this a little bit further so that it's some of the bright layers are going above the main sort of are going to go above the main sort of volume area, and that's going to break the shape a little bit further, like so. Right, so I think that's working pretty well. Like so. So now we have, you know, some layers, some colors that are going all the way above. There are some that's like going like just below, and I think that is breaking up the shape a little bit better than it previously was. I'm also going to go ahead and maybe update the texture here, maybe try on some different textures. Like for example, this texture is a lot sharper. I kind of like that. For this one, oh no, this is mask power, I'm sorry, main texture power. So I kind of like the idea that that is a lot sharper. And so I think I'm going to stick with that for the main core texture. And maybe I'm going to do some more tiling along the x-axis, just so it's a little bit more elongated towards the y-axis, like so. So something like this is good, right? So it's giving a lot more directionality to my visual effect. So now what I can do is maybe at this point, instead of my core, I think my core can stay like this on the floor side. I think my contrast can stay like this. I'm going to go ahead and, you know, make it a little bit larger. And for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, choose like a different color. Oh, this is already working nicely, I think. So I'm gonna just do a little bit of blending. So as you can see now, I'm just sort of blending the oranges. I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit more alpha. Maybe I want that to match the contrast of my cylinder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shift this closer to red. And then on my core layer for the floor, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with my fire texture, which is I'm going to choose a sharper texture for this one, because I do like those lines. And maybe I'm going to just kind of give this a little bit more color. And the great thing about this is you could keep adding layers. If you want more detail, you could just add more and more sort of layers to this effect, and it's going to create a more sort of, it's going to create a lot of depth for your visual effect. The only thing I will say to kind of be careful is that yeah, it's a little bit difficult to balance a lot of layers at the same time. And so if you have too many layers on, there's a risk that your visual effect could get messy. And so it's a little bit of a balance there, but overall, you should have a good number of layers. I think my minimum for this one is going to be these 4 layers and then some more sort of softer layers. Okay, so yeah, I think on the topic of on how many layers that you can have, I think it would be best if you have a limited number of layers, like maybe 6 layers would be okay for this. I'm going to show you a couple of more layers that we could add to kind of, take out the seam in the middle and add a lot more, flair to this effect. But this is kind of already the basis for this portal effect, right? So we have the panning, we have the distortion. Now we can add all sort of the minor details that we want. So for me, I want some embers going on here. So I'm just going to add another emitter that is just going to be where is it? Where's the simple sprite burst again? And I'm going to change quite a few of these, so I'm just going to go ahead and rename this to embers. I'm going to look for my embers material that I've already made from my Sparks VFX. Right, so I'm just gonna put this in here. I'm using a 2x2 here, so I'm gonna set the sub UV size. Then I'm going to go ahead and do sub UV animation on my particle spawn. Select my sprite render and then select random so that it's choosing a different one every time. Then I'm going to delete the simple sprite burst. I'm going to make this infinite. Then I'm going to insert a spawn rate on this one, like so. At this point, I'm also going to do, I'm going to go into initialize particle and then set my embers to random non-uniform. And then set a good size for this. So maybe like 1 to, I think 1 to 6 is good. And then maybe 2 to 8 is good as well. So something like that. And then I'm going to sprite render and then choose velocity aligned. And that kind of sets up my embers layer so that when I add my velocity and my shape location, it's going to, face and move the way I want it to. So first thing I'm going to add is shape location. And I'm going to add in a torus. So I think at this point there, yeah, so there's already a lot, I think, happening there, but maybe I need more size. Maybe 4 to 12. There. I'm going to change the handle radius to like 5, and then I'm going to add velocity. I'm going to add velocity from point, and then I think what I will do is add some color. So on my color mode, I'm just going to bump this up to something like 75, and then choose a fire color like that, like red orange. And then we're going to go ahead and take out scale color here. I'm going to go ahead and add some more velocity to this, so let's say 500, so you can kind of see them already like flying around. I think what's also making them not show up is the fact that my torus is below the ground. So I think I will just add an offset to my torus, just add a little bit. There you go. So now they're going. Now they're going a little bit too fast, so I will add some drag to this. There you go. Now, okay, so now we're cooking. For the velocity, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to randomize the velocity by using a random range float, clicking this and sort of this is not being shown here. There you go. So clicking this here, changing the data type, and then choosing random range float. And then randomizing from there. So maybe we want something that's a little bit faster, so like 450, and then maybe 150 on the minimum. There you go. So now it's animating. We can add a scale sprite size. Choose a smooth ramp down, and then randomize the lifetime as well. So for this one, we're going to do 0.8 to 1.5. There you go. So there's a little bit going on there already. We can add more spawn rate if we want. Let's say something like 150. And then at this point, because we are spawning quite a bit, we are going to have to change the sim target on the properties. We're going to have to change this to GPU compute and then calculate bounds to fixed, just so it doesn't eat up the performance of our machine. There you go. So that's I think that's going pretty okay. If we want more size, we can basically add more to the uniform to the scale sprite size, and have, you know, basically the same proportions. We could also have a scale sprite size by speed, and just like before, we will choose a little bit of a longer. There you go. So now we have embers. We can add a curl noise force to this. Maybe something like 750 on the intensity. There. So I think that's, so now it's giving a lot more animation. There's a lot more movement that's going on, and I think that's working well for our embers so far. The other thing that we can do is also to add some animation, some core contrast in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and add another emitter that's just a simple sprite burst once again. I'm going to take out scale color. I'm going to rename this center core. Center core. There you go. And essentially what I want here is to just have a glow in the center, or like an effect in the center that is hot and bright to kind of draw the attention of the audience in. So I'm going to choose a different material for this, which I think my fuse material is going to work well. This is an 8x8, so I'm going to change it to 8x8. I'm going to change the alignment and facing to I think the alignment, I'm going to choose custom alignment, and as well as the facing, I'm going to choose custom facing vector. There you go. So here, if I want to, because there's so many layers happening already, and I can't see my current layer, I'm going to go ahead and solo this. And now, so I still can't see it, and that's because the alignment and facing is a little bit wonky. And so I'm going to go ahead and just do a sub UV animation on particle update. Then choose once again my sprite render, and there you go. So now we can see my my particle over there. I'm going to change my spawn burst instantaneous to spawn rate. And I'm going to choose something like 4. And then on initialize particle, I'm going to go ahead and choose something larger on the sprite size, so maybe like 150. And then I'm going to randomize rotation. There. So I'm also going to go ahead and choose infinite on the loop behavior because I'm using a spawn rate. And I want this to loop infinitely. And then I'm going to choose once again, just a hot color on the color mode to set a nice fire color. And then, because I want this to kind of cover the center, it's already kind of doing that, but it's creating a seam. I want this to face upwards. So I want it to kind of lay flat on the ground to better cover that seam. And so what I'm going to do is go to what is that? Alignment, sprite facing and alignment. There you go. There. So with this one, I can set which side it's going to be facing, and I can basically set it to face upward. And then add a little bit of offset to kind of bring it out. And so now I have a fire at the center of my seam of my effect, and the effect is getting the seam is getting covered. So I've effectively fixed the issue that I was having before, which is there was a hole in the middle of my portal, and so now I just have a fire texture going on there, and it's covering up that seam pretty well. So we can do some more things to kind of randomize this. So for example, I can random uniform this and choose something like 150 to 250 to have a little bit more coverage. I can also have scale sprite size here. Set the first stop to 1, and then set the second stop to something like 1.3, just to kind of have a more animation going. And of course, with this, I also would like to have a glow, an outer glow. So what I'm going to do is two things. I'm going to add an emitter, simple sprite burst once again, and this time I'm going to make a infinite particle. So like I mentioned before, we're just going to go ahead and set the lifetime to 0, particle state, uncheck this box, and so now we have an infinite particle. We have this infinite particle. Now we have to change the material to something like soft glue, and then add a lot of and we have to take away scale color as well. There you go. So soft glue here. Now we set this to once infinite and then kill on the emitter state. And then I'm going to set a a contrast color to my glow particle, so maybe like 10, and then make it like deep sort of red orange. And then I'm going to go ahead and like really increase the size of my glow. Something like 500 is okay, I think, or maybe larger, 750. There you go. And then maybe for the color, I can lessen the opacity a little bit, just so it's not overpowering the details of my effect. Then I can basically have larger coverage, so something like 1, 2, or 1000 is that. There you go. So this should be okay. So now it's a little bit more volumetric on the globe, but as you can see, it's once again creating a seam on the ground. So the way we can fix this is to add another layer. Just duplicate the glow and make this the same as my fire. Just make it face upward all the time. So the way you do that is you go to sprite render on my glow, on the particle that I want to kind of face up. I will go to sprite render, go to alignment, go to custom alignment, facing mode, custom facing, vector. And then on particle spawn, I will add once again sprite facing and alignment. And I can now make this face upward and blend in with my different layers. So like so. So now it's blending quite well. I think I will go into my material instance and maybe add in a little bit more depth fade to this, just so it blends in a lot more. There you go. So now it already feels a lot more volumetric. It already feels a lot more sort of alive. Obviously you don't want your glow to overpower your effect. So you have to blend the alpha and the color values to suit your effect a little bit more. And so now my effect looks a lot more alive. It looks like it has a lot more depth to my effect. So I think this is already working pretty well. A little bit more detail would be nice. I think like I could add more embers to this. Embers that would be, that would have more upward velocity, I think would be nice. So maybe like 500 to 250, right? I could also have a little bit more a little bit more lifetime to this, lessen the point velocity, so maybe like 20 to 150. There you go. And then maybe like add a little bit of gravity to this, so maybe like upwards gravity is always good to kind of have a little bit more upwards movement. Maybe I can lessen the upward velocity a little bit to something like 350 or 250. There you go. So now we have our portal effect. So this is obviously there's more things I could add here, like more fumes or more fires maybe, but or maybe like even smokes effects, but I think this is good enough for me. So yeah, I think this is good enough for me. So I think I will call this here. This is our visual effect for plate number 2, right? So I have my fire effect here. I also have my sparks effect that I think I also made like a fire themed one. Right? So there. So see, I have this fire effect. I have this one. It's a lot more fiery. I think this one I need to have a little bit more blending, because the color of this one is a little bit pale compared to my portal. But so this is looking pretty good, I would say. And obviously there are no seams, right? There's you can barely tell where the cylinder is or where the transitions end. And so I think this is going to be good enough for me. Now all that's left is to record this, have footage, and then and then submit. So for your tasks, like I said earlier, I will be judging your VFX by the texture quality that you're using, as well as the blending of the different layers of your visual effect. I don't want to see any seams on the ground or even on the cylinder and the disc. And I kind of want them all to blend very nicely and smoothly, so that you can have a nice looking visual effect. So that will be it for this demo. Thank you guys for listening, and I will see you next session. Okay, bye bye.